Good morning, everyone. I am Christina Balyan and I'm going to discuss the schema theory.
Schema theory. It describes in detail how the background knowledge of the learners interacts with the reading task and illustrates how a student's knowledge and previous experience with the world is crucial to deciphering a text. Schema theory is a major impact in reading instructions. It is a unit of knowledge of subject or event that based on past experience. Our schemas get incredibly complex as we learn more about the world, and particularly as we become expert in the field, the more we know, the bigger and more complex our schemas become. However, the more we know, the easier it is to remember new information related to schema because there is more pre-existing information in our heads that we can relate. The function of background knowledge in the reading process is formalized in schema theory. According to schema theory, the readers brings previously acquired background knowledge organized into interrelated patterns or schemata to the reading process. The readers will create the meaning of text which relates to the text into their background knowledge, including knowledge of customs and beliefs from his or her own experience. There are three types of schemata which are formal, content, and linguistic schemata. Formal schemata is a prior knowledge of rhetorical structures and conventions. In other words, formal schemata refers to the knowledge of the ways in which different genres are presented. The point is that schema or macrostructures refers to the file underlying structures which accounts for the organization of text or discourse, like stories, descriptions, reports, and poems. Content schemata is a background knowledge of the subject of the text, which is often culture-bound. Content schemata is a background knowledge of the subject of the text, which is often culture-bound. It contains conceptual knowledge or information about what usually happens within a certain topic, on how these happenings relates to each other to form a coherent whole. It is an open-ended set of typical events and entities for a specific occasion. For an example, giving tip. You are going to eat at the restaurant. That would include information about services, menus, ordering dishes, paying the bill at the same time, giving tip at the service queue is a culture bound. Content schema are largely culture specific. Therefore, cultural schema is usually categorized as content schema. Culture is the total set of beliefs, attitudes, customs, behavior, and social habits of members of particular society. The term sociocultural means springs from shared experience, values, and attitudes. Cultural knowledge presupposed by a text interacts with the reader's own cultural background knowledge that content to make text whose content is based on one's culture easier to read and understand the syntactically and rhetorically equivalent of text. Last, we have linguistic schemata. It's decoding knowledge used to recognize words and determine their syntax in the sentence. That is prior knowledge of particular vocabulary and grammar rules. Linguistic schemata, it plays a basic role in comprehensive understanding of the text which refer to a reader's existing language proficiency in vocabulary, grammar, and jargon. Without it may be impossible for the readers to decode and subsequently comprehend the text. Schema theory is based on the notion that past experiences lead to the creation of mental frameworks that help reader make sense of new experiences. According to Smith, 1994, it calls schemes the extensive representations of more general patterns or regularities with occurring our experience, which means reading is not a passive and mechanically activity but purposeful and rational. dependent on the prior knowledge and expectations of the reader. It is not merely a matter of decoding print to sound, but also a matter of making sense of written language. In short, reading is a process in which readers samples the text, make hypotheses, confirm or reject them, make new hypotheses. According to Anderson of 1994, a reader comprehends a message when he is able to bring to mind a schema that gives an account of objects and events described in the message. In other words, contextual comprehensions involves adding the meaning of words to get the meanings of clauses. For Anderson and Pearson of 1988, comprehension is the interaction between old and new information. They emphasize to say that one has comprehend a text is to say that she has found mental home for the information in the text, or else that she has modified an existing mental home in order to accommodate the new information. Let us now a formal and content schema. One of the type of schema or background knowledge that a readers bring to a text is content schema, which is the knowledge relative to the content domain of text. Another is a formal schema or knowledge relative to the formal, rhetorical, or organizational structures of different type of texts. These two types of schema is fairly easy to separate out and to test for the effects of one type, while holding the effects of the other type of constant. Activating and building schema. It is on how schema reflects in individual perceive that world and the meanings around them. It implies that person's prior knowledge is essential in order for him or her to fully comprehend a concept. By connecting learning to students' prior knowledge, you are enabling students to call upon their own unique pathway to acquire new information. Applying schema theory to L2 language. Reading is a multi-level and interactive process in which readers construct a meaningful representation of text using their schema. While it has been known for some time that both content and formal schema are necessary for a complete understanding of written text in a reader's first language and has been suspected to be true in reader's second language.
Schema theory refers to the capability of combining one's own background knowledge with the information in text. It can be also described as a mental structure of preconceived ideas, a framework representing some aspect of the world or a system of organizing and perceiving new information. In this process, the past knowledge and knowledge structure play a crucial role in people's cognitive activities. Schemata influence attentions and the absorption of new knowledge. The people are more likely to notice things that fit into their schema, while reinterpreting contradiction to the schema as expectations or distorting them to fit. The people use schemata to organize current knowledge and provide the framework for future structures.